Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Open Class Doodles, episode number 9, live and direct. Welcome, creative community. It's such an honor to have you back today to this very special episode of the Open Class Doodles, Tactical Doodles for Success. This is the COACHMC studio. This is the place where we'll help you creators, performers, artists, actors to really shape out unique behavior deliveries. And I can't find a better term to describe the process. It's really to shape something that is unique about you, recognizable about you, putting it into a performance body, into a nice container of great performances, and give the audience great entertainment, the lens, deep impact, and the casting director a hell of a time so we get booked, so we can step our career ladder up, and we can finally realize our potential and finally do the beautiful things that we're capable of. And today it's all about that, expressing what you're capable of on the highest levels. Let's jump in today's episode. I couldn't be more pumped. It's going to be a solo episode, but definitely also people there on Facebook, on Instagram, creative community all around. Jump over to the YouTube channel or just comment in the respective streams. Be part of this adventure today. And it's going to be full of great news, also really good stuff. So I can't wait to jump in today's class and celebrate We Are the World. As always, people, before we start into today's session and today's video, just for the value proposition today, smash the like button. It goes such a long way to help us in our journey to provide you with the best content, with the greatest tools, with the most impactful insights that we gathered, that I gathered personally in my acting experience for over 35 years now. We have a brand new website that just got out on the 15th of January, and we're super proud of that because in there's the brand new package that we just tailored for you guys, for the creative community. So again, whether you're an actor, a performer, a creator, an entertainer, somebody who needs to step on stage, somebody who needs to make a presentation, somebody who wants to spice up his communication game, his social media game, or just kind of add some new tools into the already existing acting toolbox, this is the website for you guys. So check out all the programs. We added a brand new public speaking program to this beautiful portfolio that we already offer in terms of services and tools and insight, because the request was so high. So definitely check that out too, and contact us over here at the COACHMC studio. It's a great pleasure to always jump into new free trial classes that we also offer. Just send us an email through readytoperform.com. And once we're here, we also kind of declare war to boredom and mediocrity. And so our next masterclass is also coming up on the 17th of February, just to kind of squeeze that in before we start. Yes, I know I'm a devious person. I shouldn't do this. Okay, I'm a bit ashamed of my behavior. What should I do? Leave the money on the table and register to this masterclass as well. You can find the tickets in Eventbrite, also the link in the description on my Instagram, on my link tree, pretty much everywhere, right? So you know exactly where you should look at, and you should book this beautiful free masterclass that is happening every month for free, giving you the best tools here as well, and a final Q&A just to spice up the whole program. Also a great opportunity to meet other creators, to network, to kind of jump around with ideas, maybe create something together, guys. This is just a platform for you to have fun, right? I'm not dictating the rules. You're making the rules, right? You're the audience. So welcome everybody to today's episode. Really special one. I can't really say how excited I am. I'm always excited about the open class doodles, right? I'm always excited about them, right? But it's always a great opportunity to connect with you, because I feel this is the way we should do it. This is the new dawn of mankind. This is new communication. This is building networks, building channels, getting to know something that you can insert into your toolbox. And what I mean by that, because sometimes I just say toolbox for the sake of it, but what this documentary that I just saw on Netflix told me, and that's why I wanted immediately to kind of change also a bit the program and talk about this, because it's still actual, it's still there, it's hot, it's coming out right now, it's screening all over the world, and it's a beautiful documentary. I think I never cried so much. My wife probably can vouch for that. I think I never cried so much during content consummation in my life so far. It was really incredible. It kind of blasted me away. Of course, it was my personal mood a little bit of the day, but definitely the show got me in a different way. And I'm so grateful for Netflix having produced this, right? Because we criticize also the great networks like we do on the Saturday Night Hypnosis every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We definitely do, because we want to be constructive with our critique. And when I talk about toolbox, I talk about the things that we as artists, right, cherish, find valuable, we work on, our experience. This is us. Our tools are us. They reflect us, right? Our experience and our everything, what we do, what we inhale and what we exhale. That's all toolbox, right? So when I talk about tools to put in the toolbox, is like, of course, it's just ideas, right? We're just having ideas about certain concepts, exploring certain events, trying to learn, extract the most out of them, and kind of to insert these thoughts that then become reflection if you think and rethink over them, right? And you kind of analyze them more deeply, then they become like a deeper reflection. Once it's a deeper reflection, and this is the great thing about being an artist, and the people, the creative community on Facebook and Instagram, shout out to all the people present today. Thank you so much for making it today. They could confirm this, right? Like, we know exactly when you're watching a show over a long time, when you're seeing the actors, it's like, who's improving, who's improvising, who's delivering standard material, who's kind of more worth watching, right? Why is that? Why are we fascinated as an audience by somebody and not someone else? What are the measurements here? And I believe the measurements are always belief. This is where the measurement starts. It's believe in what you're doing, really believing in the cause of the text, really believing in the mission of the song, of the monologue, of the casting. We take it for so granted. I always say that, but it's true. We take it for so granted. Somebody invited us over for an audition. We complain all the way through. On our way to the audition, we complain our way through, or we completely flabbergasted by the end of the audition afterwards. And we complain about traffic, we complain about the weather, we complain about bills. We should appreciate the opportunity of being able to express ourselves and even getting paid for that, or at least acknowledged for that. You know what that means, being acknowledged nowadays? Let me know if you know what it means, because being acknowledged means that somebody's spending some of his time to listen to you, watching you. And that creative community is a big thing. We shouldn't take that for granted. It's like Lisa is commenting, I started to watch it today. It felt like a time warp, time's warp, right? In times long time ago, for sure. And you also, Lisa, you remind me a little bit also of Cyndi Lauper, who was present that night. But what are we actually talking about? The documentary We Are the World, or The Greatest Night in Pop Music, is a documentary about a memorable event, something that probably will never occur this way ever again, because it was a humongous epic task to bring in a recording studio the greatest selling artists of their time. I'm not talking about day, year. I'm talking about the greatest, the biggest, the most glorious, illuminated, iconic selling recording artists of their time, of their generations. We're talking about spanning over probably 5 to 6 decades. So 60 years of iconic music making, and all the best stars representing those 60 years, almost all of them. If you just leave out Jim Morrison and Elvis Presley, they were almost all present that night in that room about the show, what the show is talking about. So it's quite of an incredible amount of superstars that all came together one night, and just for that one recording only, and afterwards they would all be gone and dissipated and then completely distributed all over the planet, and impossible to reach anymore, to record this one song. And to go on such an adventurous mission, driven by, of course, the beauty of the thought to help the people in Africa that in the 80s especially, where we're suffering, in Ethiopia and many, many other countries, like they still do, but not on the levels that we've experienced in the 80s. And so that kind of shook the Western world in such a way where, of course, the the ancestors and the bloodlines also came together and saying, look at our cousins, look at our ancestors, look at our brothers, how they're suffering. We over here in the United States, you know, we enjoy the freedom and the wealth of our products, of our music, of our talent, and these can, you know, can barely eat and drink a day. So we should do something for them. And so out of this beautiful thought, organized by Harry Belafonte and Bob Geldof, who already started the Band Aid movement, that was based on George Harrison's help for Bangladesh, that started in '74, I believe it was, where George Harrison, you know, kind of started this thing of, you know, creating concerts and events and festivals in order to raise money for people in need or for countries that were kind of afflicted by cataclysms. Lisa says, I'm a Cyndi Lauper, share the same birthday. Really? You share the same birthday with Cyndi Lauper? Oh, that's kind of huge. That's nice. That's nice. I like, for me, she is absolutely iconic. I really adore Cyndi Lauper. She's also part of my class sometimes when I work with clients that I can disclose. I bring in music a lot, and Cyndi Lauper is part of the sessions as well, because I believe like the energy that she brings and the depth of the lyrics and this unconventional way of delivering, it's unparalleled, it's unmatched. And so there was also this fight that night to bring in whether Cyndi Lauper or Madonna, and this Netflix documentary talks in a crazy, beautiful, funny, and also very, very personal way through the lens of Lionel Richie, who's the narrator and also one of the originators of this project, because it was Harry Belafonte reaching out to him, and then he reaching out to Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson reaching out to Quincy Jones. And out of that initial towel, right, of intention, with the help of John Landau, the director of iconic movies like Blues Brothers and other great, incredible comedies that were also like cinematic landmarks of the 80s, talking about John Belushi, talking about Dan Aykroyd, James. And so it's crazy how all that John Landau alongside with Dan Aykroyd kind of, moved Ray Charles into the picture, and Ray Charles and the others, they tried to reach first and foremost, of course, also to Prince and Stevie Wonder. And that became the snowball effect. All these, Afro-American, Black, cultural, beautiful human being, and drenched artists felt the urge of helping, of course, their brothers. And so therefore it became a movement that not involved only Black people, involved all sorts of people that night. And so for one night, the task was with Ken Cragen, who was one of the greatest talent agents back in the days in the 70s and the 80s, Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, and with the help of Quincy Jones, of course, as a director of all the orchestra, of the music, of all the people, because that was the echelon of producing back then. And so therefore a person that everybody would trust. Nonetheless, all the different egos, personalities, and of course, very important people representing their entourage and their creative output. So it was a very sensitive, high, risky, phenomenally concentrated and also completely crazy and adventurous journey to undertake to record one song in one night that could help Africa, that could bring people together, and that could give, all of planet Earth for a couple of minutes while listening to this song, hope. And I think this is what this, in a way stands for, because belief always creates hope. What's up, CLS Studio? Thank you so much for stopping by. Okay, you guys let me know if our internet connection sometimes is shaky in the last couple of days. So sometimes it could maybe be that there is something going on. So let us know in the comment sections if something is working or if it's not, right? So here's the thing. This documentary goes through this process in a beautiful narrative way. It's Lionel Richie bringing this all together with charm. It's nice how he narrates. He's very in a way very humble and very touched also by the occasion. He's also co-producing the show, so therefore he has a vital interest. And it's interesting how they tried, of course, to put some people together, kind of talking about what happened that night. And nonetheless, that this song, "We Are the World," that came out, that was also written by Michael Jackson, of course, is an immensely beautiful song, right? It's so iconic. The 80s, in a way, they are still so vivid and so evocative when we think about them, and so they were iconic also in the way their style was and everything. And we're, so many times we're looking back to the 80s, also to 80s filmmaking wise, score making wise, people and creators, artists back then, they felt like, of course, eccentric in their behavior, but so real and so interesting and so intriguing. You could really learn something from their behavior, from their lyrics, from what the impact of their image, of their charisma, of their craft was. And so you felt very like, connecting posters of Michael Jackson or Prince or Cyndi Lauper or Bruce Springsteen, all these people, Diana Ross. I mean, we're talking about amazing people. Let me tell you, the list of people present that night to produce this song that could be recorded just that night in a couple of hours: Stevie Wonder, Kenny Rogers, Tina Turner, Michael Jackson, Dionne Warwick, Al Jarreau, Kenny Loggins, Daryl Hall, Cyndi Lauper, John Oates, LaToya Jackson, Anita Pointer, Dan Aykroyd, Bette Midler, Lindsey Buckingham, June Pointer, Randy Jackson, Jackie Jackson, Sean Hopper, Belle Gibson, Smokey Robinson, Bob Geldof, Chris Hayes, Johnny Cola, Mario Cipollina, Hugh Lewis, Steve Perry, Bruce Springsteen, Willie Nelson, Billy Joel, James Ingram, Paul Simon. It's absolutely flabbergasting. Now, when we're talking about high ticket performers, artists, and great creative minds, right, and souls, we're also talking about egos. And so today's episode is a bit different also from this standpoint, that of course Quincy Jones is directing all this. This episode today is also a bit different because we're not just usually we're all, kind of analyzing my doodles and talking about how to break down these visuals into effective actions, right? Tangible, actionable stuff that you do in order to get better with your creative value, right? To improve your creative value. But today we're just talking, and this is probably going to be the only time in the history of this show that we're just going to talk about one doodle and one doodle alone. Because the list that I just read, right, that is so much power, so much money, so many million records in one room, so many egos. How do you keep them all in play? By doing a couple of very smart things. And we're going to disclose them in today's episode. So today, it's just going to be one doodle alone, to teach us something fundamental about our craft, about acting, about entertainment, about how we want to live all this, about performing, about art, right? Something that should be the blueprint for all artists, but not only artists. But, since artists are so involved personally with the creation of what they do, because really, like literally their life is depending on what they create, if it has a lot of creative value or not. And so therefore, of course, actors, creators, all these people, right? We are very sensitive towards critique, towards, excessive deconstruction of the material that we're presenting, or people like reacting like in a way we don't expect or don't want them to react, right, when we present our artwork or our performance. So therefore, it is normal because we develop this stuff. And by the way, we have a beautiful video on our YouTube channel about this. It's a pretty old one. It's about contrast, conflict, and collision, but it's still a very valuable, still very contemporary. And if you are in the acting game as a newbie, someone who kind of is looking at his toolbox and thinking like, how can I do this, right? And you're looking a little bit for for guidance, how to find your way in the script, especially when you're starting out as an actor, but also as a more like a bit more seasoned and as a veteran in the game. Check out this video. You will find it on my YouTube. You have to look a little bit, over 200 videos that we have for you guys out there to implement what we do in the classes, but also as an individual resource that is freely available to you. So by all means, check out our videos. Even the older ones, they're still actual. These are all like, when we creating those videos, my wife and I were also always like, she is always thinking strategically and into the future. I'm always just executing the daily stuff, right, minute by minute. But her vision is very important because it guides me in a way that I understand, right, we need to create, and that was also my wish, of course, from the beginning, to create really fundamental instruments, not stuff that is somehow dictated by a hype theme or by like an agenda, something that is really always functionable, always actionable, always effective, right? Like really as timeless tools as possible to really think in a very granular, like very detail obsessed way, but also in a very holistical, visionary way about what you do as a creator. And so therefore, make sure to check out our videos. I'm sure you're gonna like them. We put a lot of effort in those old recordings, and it was incredible when we started off. And so therefore, we totally appreciate also now the value of what we're doing here. And therefore, just for that value proposition, please make sure to smash the like button. Ooh, yeah. Since We Are the World today is our song. And let me know in the comment section down below if you ever heard the song. First of all, if you know what the 80s are, or if you like the song. To me, it's one of the the most beautiful songs ever written. It's just an amazing song. Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie. I mean, anything else to say? How many records have Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson sold together? That would be an interesting thing to kind of to know, right? Should we look that up? Like that would be like how many million records are we talking about? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of records. It's incredible. And these two people, in a couple of hours, in the matter of hours, actually developed this concept for the song, and they laid out the first lyrics. And when they had the song, they sent over the some of the lyrics. They sent some of the lyrics over to Quincy Jones, and he listened to that stuff. He listened to it internally while he was reading. It's like, this is perfect. This is going to work. We have a song. And then he worked out, he kind of, he then fanned out the orchestral contribution, the musical support of all this. And I'm telling you, this documentary really made me cry because it's so beautiful to go into the minds. Don't judge them by their private behavior, what you think about them personally, what the gossip is gonna. It's like, look at them as artists. We're here to learn, and each and every one of us. If you sold like millions and millions and millions of records, probably you're also gonna display some bizarre behavior at a certain point, or not. Who knows? But most likely yes. I mean, artists are a bit awkward and strange and slightly bizarre. So therefore, it is okay. Teresa, raccontaci qualcosa di te, ma in italiano. Un giorno forse lo farò, ancora non lo so, ma adesso no. So let's get back to English. What I mean by that is this one sentence, this one doodle that we're going to look at today is such an important condensator, and also at the same time a catalyst to both understand and to ignite our art. So trying to find it right away, because I want to kick off with this. So imagine you have a room where your singers are, where these people are all of a sudden kind of, your artists, and you need to. We see here Bruce Springsteen and Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and Stevie Wonder holding hands and singing. We have people here like Willie Nelson and Quincy Jones, of course, directing, and Bruce Springsteen, who just got back from his 2 years world tour. We are, born in the USA, one of the greatest rock stars at that point in time on this planet. Willie Nelson, legend. Quincy Jones, hyper legend, right? Quincy Jones was one of the the big catalysts for Motown also, and he brought that pop style culture into into that R&B, funk, gospel, driven music set. And that was the phenomenal combustion that led to the explosion of Motown and the Motown sound that became so iconic. And then he migrated into the more, like personally and more intimately focused working style. And so he fleshed out all these single artists in an incredible way as well. So he was also deemed the one, like the only one being capable of pulling this off, of being the musical director, of all these people here. Like in a crazy amount of iconic rock stars. And you can imagine that the problems there are immense, because of course everybody was driven by that beautiful thought to help, Ethiopians out, and with the drought crisis that was going on also in the 80s, like a terrible drought, like swept over Africa, killing millions of people. The wells were drying out, and it was like the pictures, I think also in the 80s, that was like the first time people on a global scale understood that something was not right about the way that we live, right? Like the way we set up industry. In a way, it was also the first time we really became aware of the fact of how poverty, how famine and all that, and hunger, like on a very like core human level looks like. And so everybody was shocked by these pictures. And like I said, that it was back then I was living in Europe, and I knew, even though I was like 9 years old back then, I still like it was clear even to me as a child in that early age that something terrible was going on in Africa. So we all kind of perceived that massive sweep of news coming out of that country. And so this was the occasion that united everybody. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you bring in the people and everything is going to be flawless, right? Because still, how do you pull it off? How do you get them all into one room for one recording? Because you can imagine back in the days, we're talking 84, we're talking no cell phones, right? Telefax and conference calls, right? We had dials back then on telephones. If I show you dials nowadays, like, what is this, my friend? Yes, that's a dial, right? We dialed numbers back then. It wasn't, hey, Siri, call Cassiopeia. No. It was really like remembering the number. And sometimes we had agendas where the numbers were written down, right? So this was the time where like reaching out to people was extremely difficult. In fact, they even say that in the documentary, where in the beginning for this project, of course, they wanted to involve one of the biggest selling record stars at that time, and also one of the most beloved one, aka Stevie Wonder. But it was impossible to reach him for 30 days straight. Imagine nowadays being not reachable by a cell phone for 30 days straight. Everybody would freak out, right? You would have mass confusion, collapse of the system. And so organizing this back then with analog phones, with telefax and copy machines, and no computers on that level that we have today, was an incredible task. So they chose very wisely one night, and one night only, where everybody would be available, because everybody would be in LA receiving awards. And we know that big stars love to receive an award. So they knew for that night, everybody's going to be there, even Stevie Wonder. And basically, yeah, this turned out to be the plan. Lionel Richie presenting the American Music Awards. Back then, that was a huge award show. It was like the Oscars in a way. It was like top, elite, beautiful, iconic, dramatic, monumental type of red carpet of one artist being cooler, better, bigger, more incredible, more famous, right? If you have a red carpet where people like Kenny Rogers and Willie Nelson and Cyndi Lauper and Huey Lewis, right? All these people, Daryl Hall, right? They're just Steve Perry. They're just walking down, Bob Dylan, right? Just walking down this red carpet, right? This is the level of people all, this project had kind of thought of to include in order to really spread out the message and making this work like a big amplifier. So like I said in the beginning, what was so smart about all that? I will say that in a second. But before, I want you to remember that on the 17th of February, we have a masterclass and it's for free. That means you don't have to pay anything for it, right? It's for free. It doesn't cost you anything. So why don't you register with the link down below in the description or through my link on my Instagram on Linktree, and join Audition Tips Volume 2. It's a free masterclass. Again, it costs you nothing. So you just have to participate and lend me the most precious gift that Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and your mother gave you, which is time, to learn something amazing and I think fundamental and a bit also more specific and a bit more advanced about how to tackle the audition in a remarkable way. To impact the lens, to impact the casting director, to have fun exploring your character and not being worried at all how to pull this off, you will learn the 17th of February. Just register. It's going to be an amazing opportunity also to meet other creators, other actors, to network, to kind of, see other people interact about this thing called acting. Just helps you also to loosen up. The other day, I was at a beautiful studio facility, Rose Avenue Studios over here, close to Hollywood. Shout out to the Rose Avenue facility, beautiful platform for creators over here in Miami. And it was a beautiful day. We hung out there, and I jammed a little bit with the boys, with Joe Fortune and his twin brother, Josh, and it was fantastic, right? But at the same time, I felt I wasn't really delivering my best lines that day while freestyling and jamming. I felt like I could have done better. I know myself better. And my wife was saying like, hey, come on, why are you beating yourself up? It was a Sunday. It was a good occasion. You did well. So what is the problem? It's like, yeah, I could have delivered better material. I don't know. Like, I wanted to deliver better freestyles, right? I wanted to impress the boys. These are good guys. I love to hang out with them. Shout out, by the way. And so I wanted to deliver better material freestyle-wise. But nonetheless, it was a great show. And we did a lot of tagging and drawing, and I felt like I was 16, so therefore everything was good. And so I was coming home and watching this documentary, and you would see in the documentary as well, it was Bob Dylan who couldn't sing that night. But you will explore it through the documentary. I will also give you my take on it, but just for now, right, Bob Dylan couldn't sing, right? And he needed the room to be empty and to have his 5 minutes preparing. He was completely he felt completely displaced. You can literally see that. And then I thought to myself, all right, if Bob Dylan can sing on We Are the World before the room is not empty and having all these issues, then I could probably also, after 8 or 9 months of not freestyling, I could also have sometimes a bit of a rust thing going on with my performance and not be always at my top levels. If Bob Dylan isn't able to perform well on We Are the World, then I can also be sometimes screw up a line here and there. So it's beautiful to see such great artists also at work, because in the end you realize they're just human beings. Monica, Danilo, tesoro. Lorenzo, peccato che non fai più Sturm del Libro, lo vedevo sempre quando non lo fai più, smesso di vederlo, mi dispiace. Però guarda i colleghi, sono ancora bravi, dai, assolutamente. Sono ancora bravi. Hey, people on Facebook, people on Instagram, are you still with me? Are you here today? Are you hearing what I say? How beautiful this occasion is? So coming back to what I want to say is this, just to tell you, this is so linked also to the masterclass, because in a way, it's always good to reflect. It's always good to watch other people do it, to kind of learn by imitation and observation and implementation, and kind of getting better also through these, free channels. All that you could do in order to kind of, pay me back is maybe subscribe to the channel, or if you want, if you have real intentions with your acting game, if you kind of plan to kind of, speed through this year and taking lessons and buff up a little bit, and maybe, getting to an agency, then why don't you contact me through my free trial class session form that you can find. Just contact me on my website. It's readytoperform.com. And let's talk about, what you want to achieve this year. What is it that you have in mind? Where do you like to get better? What do you want to, add to your portfolio? What is it that you want to learn, right? All these questions, over here at the readytoperform.com website. Contact me for a free trial. It's always a great opportunity to meet, always to exchange stories. And maybe already I can give you some insights, some nuggets, some info, info nuggets that can help you to spice up your program, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do whatever. It's just to have an exchange and kind of be part of this creative community. So subscribe and also contact me for the free trial class, for the free trial session. If you are thinking about, kind of doing something for yourself this year, whether it's communication wise, word handling wise, performance wise, or even just about, kind of formulating your goals better, having a strategic session with what you can, what you should, what you want to achieve, all this beautiful stuff. And what is it that we actually need to achieve? Exactly. That's how the cycle closes itself down, right? Because there are always four corners to justice. Like this is a Chinese proverb. It means four corners, four slices of the cake, complete justice, because justice is seen in China as being part of a fold pattern. You need four branches to achieve justice, right? You have the stability of the mind, the stability of your word, the stability of your heart, and the stability of your soul, of your chi. So all four parts come together when it's about evaluating. And the evaluation process in old China, that was a ritual. It wasn't like we have in mind today, right? We go into office and we have this meeting at 4 p.m. In a way it was also, but it was more like, no, we don't decide it on one day. It doesn't make sense, right? In old China, when it's about like, even with the emperor, about creating laws, it was a process of a ritual. People come together over a cycle of time and everybody was throwing something in. It assembled or resembled more like the idea of an antique Greek type of Senate, consult, like a gathering of some old, philosophers, thinking about a topic. That it kind of looked more like that than rather a professional business meeting nowadays, what they did back then in China. So they said, our rule is here that before we can rule, before we can create a law, we must think of the four-folded pattern. What are the four slices of the cake that create justice in my resemblance, in my idea of what justice is? And that needs to be discussed with all of them. And only if you would come into fruition, right, the emperor would then also decide whether or not he wants to kind of seal this, or if he wants to add something to it, or if he wants to rebuke the concept completely. Of course, he could just put a veto in there and just destroy the whole concept of creating this new law. So what I like to say with this, we have justice inside of us. We know, we feel on a visceral level what's wrong and right. And I can tell because I can see it in people's eyes. And yes, of course, there are some people that have a very obfuscated way of judging because they, suppress it. They put a lot of stuff on top of it. And maybe they don't have access. But I'm not talking about the exception here. I'm talking about the stuff that we all share, that we know it's there, right? This urge for expression, this urge of creating something amazing, this being seen and acknowledged and recognized for what we do. That's all necessary and beautiful. So how can you come to justice with yourself? And Quincy Jones, on that occasion, when he brought all these incredible megastars into one room with a very risky endeavor of creating a song that night, 7 minutes long, everything finished, so he could send them out all over, spreading them all over again, right? Analog times, no cell phones, all over the world, and being unreachable after that night. So everything had to work. And this is what's beautiful about art. When your brain sometimes is forced to do something, when there is no other escape, when your shoulders, your mental shoulders are being pressed against a wall, and there is no other way to kind of move and to get out of this, and except steaming forward, right? And pushing forward with all that you got. When you're in this type of situation, at least to my experience and to what I've witnessed so far in my life and being an actor for over 35 years, is that the brain all of a sudden becomes Superman. The Clark Kent comes down, and we discover the S for hope, right? In a way, because that S of the Superman on his chest, that stands for hope. And yeah, then Superman comes out, because all of a sudden the brain hyperly focuses on one spot only, and then you have this tunnel focus, tunnel concentration, and that is amazing. Yes, I mean, I'm not sure you're not talented. I wouldn't say there is anything like that. There is something like attitude. So it's not about talent, it's about your attitude improving. Even though you can play, that doesn't mean you would never exercise. So the more you exercise, the better you can play. So talent is really a thing about exercising. And every result is great. Everything that you put on top of it, that you extract, that you use for yourself is good. Because it just means it becomes more personal, therefore more important for you. When it becomes more important, your brain automatically pays even more attention. So the process of the stratification of the knowledge, which means that it becomes more limbic, more visceral, more automatic, is way, way quicker, instead of just repeating it and repeating it, right? This is the active process. It's good to do it, but it's also great to reflect on it. But you have, of course, to create a lot of volume in order to reflect on, about something. If you don't create a lot of volume, you will just have a very narrow field of what you can actually reflect on. And that makes it very hard to choose, what is good right now. If you have created a lot of volume, you have a lot of choice. And that will, of course, take you also more time to kind of finally flesh out your product and create your style. All these great recording artists we had present that night, this is what they did. They continuously fleshed out their product and tried to achieve greatness with every line. And this in documentary, look here, we have Steve Perry, we have Bruce Springsteen. This is Kenny Loggins, I believe. So many little stories here that we're signing autographs for each other, because all of a sudden, when somebody finished his part, right? Because of course, like having a song that is not too long and being 7 minutes long and having like 70 artists in the room, so somebody would get, of course, a smaller part. And there were ways that Lionel Richie was entertaining his other colleagues, because he was running partially also the show. And therefore, one thing was then when somebody had had done his job, of course he would leave and take off and then drive home or drive to the hotel. And so before not seeing them again, he wanted them to sign his songbook. And so they started signing and autographing and signing all these songbooks and for each other. And that became some sort of a wave in that room during one recording session. Again, these people were not going anywhere. Quincy Jones had them locked in there. And they did two very smart things. In order to keep them united, Bob Geldof would start with a speech about Africa. So they would kind of, calm down their egos a little bit and also focus, because of course, like, even if you are agreeing on this, like, start talking, you start getting tired, you start, having your own, thing going on, or you just, simply working on the material takes you more time than others. Maybe it's hard to focus. So in order to save time, they wanted to have something happening in the beginning that could unite all of their forces. So Quincy Jones did something amazing. He did two amazing things. First of all, he wrote down, on a sheet of paper, check your ego at the door. And he hung that up. He told his assistant to hang it up, over the threshold of the door entering the studio, so everybody could see it. Everybody walking through that threshold, through that door, over that liminal, that point of that frontier of the real world and the recording booth, right? Everybody would perceive it and see that one doodle that, where, that commands this show, right? This one doodle to rule them all. Check your ego at the door. And this should be valid for all of us. When we're approaching art, we need to check our ego at the door. And that's why I love this documentary also so much, because it taught me something fundamental. And I immediately wanted to share this with you guys, because I think this is really good and really easy stuff to learn. Write it down right now. Check your ego at the door. When you're walking into the audition, a casting director's office, check your ego at the door. When you're meeting people and at an event, and there are industry people, maybe high ticket people, maybe colleagues, maybe competitors, check your ego at the door. When you're going in to record a song or to produce something at your desk for someone else, or check your ego at the door, leave it there. What does that ultimately mean? It means that you're open. It means that it's not about fulfilling what you think and you want to see, but that you're fulfilling what needs to be seen. There's a huge difference. Having the sensitivity as an artist to recognize what the audience really wants and needs, instead of imposing what you think they should want, is a big difference. And that separates the good artist from the great artist. Right? That doesn't mean that both can't be the same person. All these people that I'm talking about today that are also venerated at a certain level, of course, they have, to some extent, they have all gone through creational slumps, phases in their lives because of personal inconsistencies, of technical inconsistencies, or a mixture of all these ingredients. At a certain point of their career, they were not producing the greatest material anymore. They were not relevant anymore. They were losing their drive, their mojo, their energy, their impact, however you want to call it, right? And so therefore, there are some artists that are going through these oscillations where they're also experiencing personal traumas or problems. And so therefore, you don't hear too much from them. And all these stories, all these oscillations, all these waves, these sonar beautiful waves, right? That kind of, create matter as we perceive it. Present in one room means you have present many, many stories. And an artist is made out of his stories. A singer, a creator, an actor, a performer, he's made out of his stories, how he reflects and what happens to him, and his humor, how to deal with all these stories. So the best way to strip off these unnecessary, these ornamentations from each and every artist that was stepping into the recording booth of, A&M recording studios in LA, directly from the Shrine Auditorium, Lionel Richie, conducting the American Music Awards, bringing all these artists and shipping them over to the A&M studios. Beautiful choice, great location, everything logistically well planned. This is also coming out of the documentary, which was really nice because they really illustrated technical aspects as well as human aspects, as well as a whole, of course, the organization, but also what was the underlying current and how all creative influences, some bigger, some smaller, were kind of creating this beautiful patchwork, this beautiful fabric of an unforgettable song that became monumental, right? In the 80s, the beautiful thing about the 80s was that you had one movie, one song representing that movie, and that movie, that song would play for 1 year straight, or even 2 years, or even 3 years. I remember the Deep Blue with Jean Reno in the town I was living at that time in Stuttgart in southern Germany. I think that movie played for over 3 years, to be honest. I think even more than that, really. So back then, like, movies were really dictating the taste, the style of the year. Also, fashion-wise, they were very much more important nowadays, where they get, hyped, and they're important because there's coverage about it. But the essence back then, that was the real driving force. It wasn't the coverage, the exterior factor, was what these movies were about. The Goonies, right? If you look at this movie, like Cyndi Lauper was connected to the movie. If you were thinking about Cyndi Lauper now being in We Are the World, we are the children, we are the ones. Yeah. Then you would also bring her into this context, right? And you would bring all the, all the image baggage that you would have, all the associated images and sensations that you are associating with Cyndi Lauper. You would now bring this into We Are the World. Same thing was true for Willie Nelson fan. All of a sudden they would, find Willie Nelson in this complex. And so back then it was a huge shift to have stars like that doing these crossover projects. It's not as common. It wasn't it was like, it wasn't completely unseen or super, super rare, but such an amount of border project, crossover projects to have them all in one room was unheard of at that time. And so therefore it was something absolutely special. And even today it is very like, okay, yeah, you're doing like a crossover project, but that happens on a computer. To really have artists coming in and sing this with you and being so, dedicated after the American Music Awards, after a world tour, after, the whole year of working and being showbiz, getting hijacked pretty much, because all these people didn't really know what was going on, right? It was all top secret, to not leak it out to the press. It should be something sensational and unique, and also to prevent the people already have like false expectations, because let's face it, nobody knew if this thing would turn out to be a success, if this would be a great track, if they would really come together and sing as a unit. Quincy Jones was confident, and of course he had incredible backup by people as like Michael Jackson was an incredible influence, but they really didn't know if this would really turn out to be great. And so there was a lot of risk involved. And also Ken Cragen, of course, the legendary talent manager back then, he exposed himself to a lot of, right? I think he cashed in a lot of personal checks from people. He pulled a lot of strings. Like, remember 20 years ago, I lent you 20,000, right? I want this favor back now. And so it was a once in a lifetime opportunity for sure. And also the technical crew present that day, everybody, there was no payroll. It was like it was a beneficiary type of event, right? So nobody knew what it was about. Nobody would get actually paid. They just knew it was super important. Nobody wanted to leak something out to the press. Even like after the American Music Awards, people like Huey Lewis and people like were getting asked like, "What are you doing, guys? Now there are rumors that you're record a song now," like, because till that night, pretty much they hold tight. And so, of course, the night of the music awards, it started to trickle down, and people got wind of it, that there was something like a recording session going on with all the stars present at the American Music Award. Imagine this nowadays, where all these egos, you need to stuff them into one room. That's why the first move of Quincy Jones of, let him and his assistant hang up this sheet of paper where you would see, check your ego at the door. That's the most beautiful doodle, guys. If there's anything I can ever tell you to do, if there's any thought, any counseling, any tip that you would love to really follow up on, that I so far released in my 200 and plus videos, then, take this one. Leave everything else away, because by checking your ego at the door, you're making sure that your playful child is the only one focused on the material before you. And that is the perfect combination, because the playful child has an immense, almost infinite focus, and at the same time a willingness to go into different directions. So the focus is great, but sometimes if you have great artists, I'm just pointing now at Willie Nelson. I'm not saying Willie Nelson is that type of artist, right? But maybe, they even say it in the documentary, so I'm guessing it's okay. People like Stevie Wonder, they were famous for not being the easiest to deal with, right? And they even say this in a documentary. So if you have someone like him here, right, you have to deal with a lot of like ego backlash sometimes, right? And rightfully so, because these people really think they know what the audience wants to hear from them, and therefore they feel very entitled and personally connected to their songs, and that's okay. So when you have people like this, and you don't have time to waste, and at the same time people really don't know what to expect, you need to give them an immediate structure that works. And by putting this thing up there and saying, hey, check your ego at the door, that means it's about to get crazy. It's about to get, you're about to step into unknown territory, but I want you to stick with me, right? Because this is important. Check your ego at the door, right? Don't lament, don't complain. It's not about your entourage. I know you can't drink for a couple of hours, not you're used to, or not making party immediately after the award show. I know it's unusual, but just do it. Just stick with it. Check your ego at the door. If there's one counsel that I can give you along your road of creating your product, of having success and doing beautiful things, check your ego at the door. Now, should it always be that you are submissive and super humble and not able to express your opinion? Of course not. I'm not talking about the excess here. I'm talking about the normal playground. Your playful child can only interact with the material that you have at hand in the best and most effective way if there is no interruption, no intercourse, of no intermingling of your ego. No, I don't want this. I don't feel like I have so many beautiful clients coming to me, and I'm proud and happy about each and every one of them. And I get sometimes asked, like when I suggest a game or a scene or an improv, or like, yeah, but I don't feel like comfortable playing this. This is not how I would usually behave. Yes, that's acting. That's all. Of course, you wouldn't behave like this usually, because that's not you. It's a role, and you're acting the role. And therefore, yes, it might feel uncomfortable and weird to look at a text that is getting released by a character that you can't really understand immediately, or where you have difficulties, like kind of completely aligning with his, sets of values, or completely finding correspondence in everything that he does or she does as the character. That's the whole concept of being an actor. If we would always feel comfortable about what we play, what do you think the most likely outcome will be? Ding dong, smash the like button. Exactly. Mediocre performances. Again, the outcome for you as an artist, when you're always looking for the path of least resistance in a character and the most comfortable next to you to play thing, will most likely be mediocre content. And what do we know? That mediocre content is the death of great art. It's death, right? Mediocre is absolutely the end of creation, because you're conform. You're just mass. You just have a weight. You don't have a face. You don't have an expression. There is no identity. There is nothing recognizable about you. In show terms business, there is no light shining on you anymore, my friend. So everything we should hope for is exactly there, where we don't assume it in the first place. Because as characters, usually the stuff that we have to play, or as characters, the stuff that we have to go through, this is not the stuff that we go through on a personal level. So of course, the further away it is from us, the more interesting it is, because it's really hard to identify yourself sometimes with what the character is saying or doing. That's the whole point, right? So you shouldn't avoid that. Yes. It's a beautiful song, fantastic song. I get goosebumps as well. I can't really say how many times, Michael Jackson he's perfection from the performance standpoint. That is scary, because I always talk about that perfection never can be reached, and that's actually not true. Of course, everybody in his own exploration. You don't need to be Michael Jackson, Prince, or I don't know, like one of these incredible Madonna or Janet Jackson. That's not the point. Perfection can be reached in what the logic is of your mastery level, right? And your condition, your context, your physical context, your environmental context, everything that's circumstantial about you. In a certain way, yes, there is, of course, perfection and the beauty of imperfection. But I mean, from the standpoint that I really mean perfect, like scary perfect. When you look at some performers sometimes, and they are perfect. There are many musical performers, through my best man, who was once like an astonishing musical performer. He was on stage singing, dancing, and I got to see all these shows and also backstage, and it was incredible to watch these people, right? Ballet dancers, all these people, they're incredible performers. Yes, they could be deemed perfect, but the thing is that since they are like almost perfect, all these musical stars, these ballet dancers, they feel also very abstract. If you get what I'm saying, please let me know. And the incredible scary thing about Michael Jackson is that he felt perfect without coming over as abstract or wooden or robotic. When he wanted to be perceived robotic, then he would play that. But otherwise, his movements in combination with his singing in combination with his writing, in combination with the choreography, in combination with the whole concept, in combination with the setup, with the light, with the live show setup, from the instruments, from all the dancers, it was just perfect. It was just, there's nothing more to add to this. That's why he was the greatest stars. He was the greatest star of all time. Michael Jackson is just incredible. And so check your ego at the door means also look at these stars, look at their education. Look where Michael Jackson, for example, came from. The years where he had to fight against his dad. And I mean, I don't wish any one of us like a childhood and upbringing like MJ had, of course not. But hey, it made him the biggest star on planet Earth. So there was something about this initial difficulty of getting accepted by his father, and this competitiveness inside of him of reaching that star level in order to satisfy the incredible, enormously and outrageous ambitional kind of wishes from his father, right? And kind of to live up to these incredible standards. That's where and why he became the performer he was, right? Because the ambition was so high, the request, the demand was so high. The exercise was constant and daily and very, very hard and obsessive and abusive sometimes. Am I arguing for that? Of course not. What is the thing tonight? It is to understand that if we check our ego at the door, we let our focus really in. There is no judgment. Instead, there is just the openness to explore. And this is what happened that night. And I feel this is what was conveyed also in that documentary in a nice way. I can't even really, these voices, they were so distinguished. Like, look at these expressions, right? Look at these people, like standing around one mic, 3 people, 4 o'clock in the morning, giving everything. Look at them. This is dedication, this is passion, this is soul, this is focus, and this is attention and listening to your own voices in the head. Look what is going through his head right now. Imagine what he's thinking, and there is also this part where people were kind of curious about what Bob Dylan would deliver, and he was not really there that night until he recorded his part. Look at this dedication. But otherwise, everyone was hyperly focused. That's the beauty of art. Hyper focus, dedication, determination, and precision, and really yes, joy, let it flow, laugh, focus, beautiful interaction. Check your ego at the door, flow, connect, interact, create, right? Like we do. 17th of February, free masterclass, just not to forget. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. Second thing that was very smart, check your ego at the door. That was already the warning signal to everybody coming in, flocking into this incredible event, right? Leave all of your, cloaks, invisible cloaks at the door, and just come in as that pure performer. And the other thing, what do you think, Rosita Macarons, about Prince not showing up? You know that? You watched the documentary? I think Madonna not showing up because of Cyndi Lauper, that was similar in a way. He wanted to play the guitar, to have a solo. They didn't really see a guitar happening in the song, which I think is, for what it's worth now, of course, that has been the better choice. And therefore, also the competition with Michael Jackson, probably that influenced choices as well. Even though Quincy Jones was the guarantee for it. They even had Sheila E. coming in, who was, one of the, she was also performing as a percussionist on Prince tour, and they were in love, allegedly. I think they were really in love. They were a couple. And she was that night present until she realized that probably they just invited her over to get Prince to show up as well, right? And so that was a bit of a bummer for her. And then she left. I think for the final session, she wasn't present anymore. She left before that, when she kind of realized that she was kind of used a little bit I wouldn't say manipulated. And so Prince didn't show up, Madonna didn't show up. There were a couple of people also in the warm-up when they were singing the hook. There were some people also leaving at a certain point, because when you have so many creators also coming into the room, and there was this beautiful thing about Stevie Wonder not being reachable the first 30 days. So all of a sudden, Stevie Wonder, of course, shows up and has a lot of ideas for a song that is already finished, right? It should just be recorded and not be thought of. And so he wanted to, add his spin on it and kind of he came up with a couple of ideas, and some artists were not good with that, and they saw their time getting wasted, and so they left. But otherwise, the lineup still was very, 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 very. I mean, you've heard the names, right? It's just, it's just an incredible lineup. Just one of probably the biggest lineup of all time. Like, what else can you ask for? Like, this was everything that was rock and roll music, pop music. Everybody was present that night. Everybody was present. Everybody was giving his best. I believe like we had billions of album sales present that night. So the second great thing was that speech by Bob Geldof, because Bob Geldof, by delivering the Africa speech and giving people the context of, because some people really weren't aware of what was going on back then in the 80s. Again, no cell phones. So some artists really they didn't know what was going on in Africa before this was happening. Even great names, even politicians, maybe they just claimed that with the alibi of not having like further information. But back then, many people declared that they didn't really know what was going on. And so Bob Geldof brought this into the conscious mind again with his Band Aid project that later also was adopted by Queen, and he sold out incredible, like millions of seats in many stadiums in England as well, and he helped many, many people. But again, the original idea was actually coming from George Harrison from the iconic Beatles band. He passed away. He's not with us anymore, but he was the first one to do that for Bangladesh. And so this whole concept then became something that, a reoccurring idea, which of course was great. But just to produce it for one song, just to have it for that urgent matter, Bob Geldof was one of the initiators. Harry Belafonte was also a very dedicated activist in Africa for many, many years. And so he was also kind of contributing with his power. He had many strings to pull there. And so they brought this together, and Bob Geldof gave that speech. And that brought everybody into focus. So we had the belief of doing something great, and just that factor of not having the ego intermingling with this, and being clear with your thought, with your focus, and dedicated to the cause. So belief and dedication, commitment and consistency over one night brought us together to celebrate something so beautiful and amazing like this song. And I mean, there comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone, somewhere, right, soon, somehow will make a change, right? We're all part of God's great big family. And the truth, love is all we need. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true. We'll make a better day. Just you and me. Oh, send them your heart so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free, as God has shown us by turning stones to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand, because we are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, it'll make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out, and there seems no hope at all, but if you just believe there is no way we can fall, well, let us realize, that a change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the world. I want to close it down with this final statement. I think there is nothing else that I could add to this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Lorenzo, for this great talk about this awesome documentary. See you, bye-bye. Just let us remind that on the 17th of February, right, we have a beautiful masterclass about auditioning. Great tips, guys. And yeah, it's also a fun occasion to get to know me a little bit, ask a lot of questions. And we have next open class doodle on Tuesday. It's going to be, on Thursday, it's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next Tuesday, right, if I'm not getting all the schedules wrong, we're going to have Dragon Slayer commentaries coming back to the show where we're going to talk about the Greek Age of the Gods. Remember the first episode? I mean, you can still check it out. It's there, right? Open class doodles about the first age of gods, Greek mythology with my man, Dragon Slayer commentaries, highly knowledgeable, super, super fun human being, great to talk with, great talent also. And I love his commentaries also on Saturday Night Hypnosis, where we are at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday over a year now, being there present for you, smashing bad entertainment, praising good entertainment, extracting what's useful for us, and kind of shouting out and making fun of everything that's hilarious and having a great time. At the end of the week, I do so much serious content also for my clients and for my students, where I produce stuff where I really think about actionable things and really trying always to be, as composed as possible in order to deliver something non-judgmental that will help you, creative community, the most to kind of reach your goals. So therefore, during the week, right, I'm super serious about, of course, what I'm producing till Saturday, right, the first 6 days. But it's Saturday night. I need to go loose a little bit. That's why I kind of, yes, I practice also the art of, smashing bad entertainments. I need to vent my frustrations as well, because I'm a very passionate, believer in talent and great entertainment. And so therefore, when I see bad entertainment, I'm fuming, right? I'm fuming, right? I get really mad at stuff that is not made well, because I feel time is too precious on this planet to spend it in a mediocre way. And so this is our mission over here at the COACHMC studio. So on the weekend, sometimes enjoy this ability of being a little bit, like out there and oversketch, but during the week, I'll, offer you the best content, the most amazing, the most impactful tools to really spice up your delivery and get recognized in the audition room. So like we said, next open class doodles, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, and then the Tuesday after that is gonna be Dragon Slayer commentaries, and hopefully we get White's Metal on the show for the Thursday after that, because then we're gonna dive deep into a new topic that I'm not gonna disclose now. Thank you so much on Facebook. Thank you so much to the Instagram's community, to the Facebook community. It was a blast having you here. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel. It goes such a long way to support our creative endeavors, guys. Thanks for showing up here, for commenting. Just join me also on my Telegram channel, because there you can get some content that is a bit more different, where I talk also personally. There finally I can also reach a bit more personally than over here. So sometimes I just share stories from my life, thoughts that I have. You can also hit me back with questions there. So it's a great way also to communicate a bit more in a relaxed manner, and as a bit also we can goof around on Telegram a bit more. But there's also going to be a lot of course of infos about when the next courses are coming up, new videos uploading and all that. So make sure to subscribe to our Telegram channel as well. Make sure to be part of this creative community this year. We're going to bring you incredible content, guys. We're going to try to really kind of deliver a stream of beautiful videos that will help you to spice up your delivery, to become a very potent, impactful performer, to find your voice in the creative world, to find your stand in the creative world. Join us also on readytoperform.com. And just if it's for a free trial class, if you have a monologue that you want to work on, self-tip audition is coming up. Maybe you want to prepare something for your portfolio. You need your portfolio to be evaluated, like a little audit. It's like, hey, coach, what do you think I need here in order to kind of, really stand out for the casting directors out there? You're looking for an agency and you want to pinpoint what your style is or where you should go with your acting game. All these things, right? Just contact me. Send me a free trial class request. Let's set up a date. Let's find out if we're a great match for each other. If we are, let's start the mumble. Let's start the rumble. Let's start the rumble. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention today. I hope you had fun with this shorter episode today. It was sort of a flash news break type of event because I saw this documentary. Highly recommended to watch it, as you might tell, and because I think it tells us such an important lesson about life, about art, and about success. So I hope you kind of implement that and let me know what type of content you'd like to see in the future as well. We're gonna definitely pick up on our acting alphabet. Just give us some time to settle in. If you're an editor and you want to edit our material, and if you're really, really great and you can deal with, two psychotic creators like us, contact us, by the way, right? Because we definitely need help, but we're going to talk about that and make sure also to reach out to the respective venues where we can take that. But otherwise, if you're happening to see this and you think you're a great editor and you want to edit our material and you're fast and effective and a handsome looking person, then by all means contact us. Otherwise, see you with the next video next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, Saturday Night Hypnosis, Saturday 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. Have so much fun. We are the world and you are ready to perform. Thank you.